In a world where the news gets twisted, Jon and Tom stand tall, never wasted. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices fearless and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom class through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, shining light.
Who needs personality when you can switch who you are at the push of a button?
It's Sid, swish, Kamala. That's right.
Oh, hello, young lady. Quite a marvelous day, innit?
Why does she talk so weird?
Let me play with her.
Well, hey there, little nugget. I'm gonna be the first black female president of the United States of America.
Man, this doll sucks.
Accent Switch Kamala can emulate any accent you like, as long as it grants her credibility.
Bonjour, tu aimes les croissants?
Merde américaine.
Guten Tag, Sie lieben ein Bratwurst? Ufta, 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 da.
Luke, I am your mother.
It's Sid, swish, Kamala. That's right.
But wait, there's more. All new Accent Switch Kamala comes with 2 bags of campaign money, a blind eye for illegal immigration, and her own multi-laugh 3000 generator. Laugh in every way possible. Let Accent Switch Kamala turn your life into a complete circus.
When you give me more money, like Uncle Joey did.
Don't you worry, little man. The money's coming.
I don't understand.
Oh, excuse me, honey.
I meant to say, the money is coming. I love ice cream, clumping on map.
It's Accent Switch Kamala and brand new Tampon Tim.
You know, my grandma always used to say, Kamala Janu, please wash your hands so we can eat our chicken masama.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
If Trump wins. I grew up in a middle-class family. What are you gonna do about the economy? Has it been 3 hours already? It's been 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Yeah. And we gotta do this for 3 hours? Yeah. Can you edit this to make it look like I talked for 3 hours? We don't do that. 3 hours later. I grew up in a middle-class family. We are a strong people. We have dreams and breathe oxygen. So, am I the best interview you ever had?
Well, that's the rumor, John. I guess that President Trump, at first the rumor was President Trump is going to be on Joe Rogan. Then the follow-up was Kamala Harris is going to go on Joe Rogan too. But I feel sorry for her if she's going to go on Joe Rogan because there's not going to be prepared questions. She's definitely going to have to wear the Bluetooth earrings because she's going to be in deep trouble in a 2-hour format without the setup and the questions. You know, she's not going to have the softball job that she gets from mainstream media.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I think that even when it is completely set up and staged for her to come in and spit out her agenda, her talking points, even then she doesn't perform very well. People don't see any authenticity. People don't think that she's genuine, you know, and it's the same thing over and over again. We get it. You can memorize a line, but is that all you can do? And she certainly is not going to do any better when she gets into the studio with Joe Rogan. So it'll be interesting to see that, especially because you're going to have a constant comparison now, right? She's playing catch up. All of her experts, all of her Democrat consultants are telling her, you got to get out now that we can't waste any more time. We got to get out. You can't hide anymore. It's like, you know, they feel like the race is slipping away. And so they're in desperation mode. They need to go and they need to take these shows that are not necessarily friendly. And that's one of them for sure. And you're going to have Donald Trump doing the same thing. And, you know, I'm waiting for Donald Trump to get on with Charlemagne.
No.
You know, that's something I would like to see, because here's the thing. Charlemagne is full of crap. You know, Joe Rogan is the same guy no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Charlemagne, he's such a coward because his listenership is like 90% black, so he's afraid to say anything that might offend his audience, right? Instead of being honest with his audience and genuine himself, he's just going to complain about her being having a lack of genuineness, but at the same time not really addressing the true issue. So when she was on his show, I think he kind of mentioned that, oh, well, they say this, people say this. Why can't you just say, hey, I'm a man, I noticed this, right? That's not what, and I'll give you another example before we move on, but he was making comments on his show about the fact that Kamala Harris wants, which we're going to talk about later on in the show, wants sex change operations in jail, right? And he made a lot of comments on that, but he didn't hit her hard with her on that issue, although he did it on his show, right? So that was very strange. I think that she's going to really, now that the pressure's on, I don't think that she's going to flourish. She doesn't seem to me as a person who's going to get better with pressure. I think she's going to get far worse with pressure. So, so that's the news. I think that those were hilarious ads. I think the memes are like, now it's an avalanche of memes about Kamala Harris and every little thing that she does, because she just has not been able to resonate and make a connection with voters. And they're all just observing the foolishness of Kamala Harris. You know, the cackling, the repetition, and so on. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America. This is School Board Member John Arguello, and this is my great friend, Citizen Tom Lord, and we're here to go through the current events in our nation, mostly about politics. And so we're going to do a quick prayer, and then we're going to get right down to business. Lord, we appreciate more than anything being citizens of this country and being part of a country where we have the right that we exercise in doing this show, and that people can converse, and we have these a Bill of Rights that provides us freedom, and that acknowledges in our Constitution, it's acknowledged that these rights come from God. And what an amazing situation right now when politics is so tense. At least we can always fall back on the Constitution to protect our rights, and that's quite important. And we are very appreciative of that. And Lord, we pray that Americans get out and they vote and they take part in their civic duty, and that you inspire them to vote their biblical values. In your son's name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. What do we got, Tom?
We got a ton of news, John. And it's so much this week, just so much going on, and some of it quite laughable. But this one isn't, John. Possible third assassination attempt on President Trump.
Crazy.
We don't know all the details, but the Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco released some details in this press conference on the man who was arrested outside of Trump's Coachella rally. Says he had multiple passports and multiple names. The guy's name is Vem Miller. Apparently, from all indications from his social media and stuff, he is a MAGA supporter. Here's the video.
We have his name as Vem, V-E-M, Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R, and his birth date is 10/26 of 1974. And the reason why I gave it to you like that is I will explain later. He approached the outside perimeter, gave all indications that he belonged there, that he was a participant that was allowed to get into VIP and to and a press corps, and so he was allowed through that outer perimeter. As he got to the inside perimeter, where deputies were conducting obviously a more thorough evaluation of the vehicles that were coming in, there were many irregularities that popped up. The deputy noticed that the interior of the vehicle was in quite disarray. The vehicle had an obviously fake license plate, and that prompted further investigation from our deputy into why the person was there and what he was doing. During that investigation, the deputy eventually found multiple passports with multiple names, multiple driver's license with different names. The vehicle was unregistered, and the license plate was what we in law enforcement would recognize as one that is homemade and indicative of a group of individuals that claim to be sovereign citizens, and assuming the deputy assumes that he was part of that identifying group. So during the investigation, obviously those identification documents were found, in addition to a loaded handgun and a shotgun. Obviously, this was before the former president arrived. The person was taken into custody. He was eventually booked into jail on those charges, and eventually he was released. He will have to further his court case in the future. Right now, we are actively engaged in working with Secret Service and the FBI to ensure that this person is followed up on and all of the information that they can gather. I can tell you that from my perspective, from a state law enforcement agency's perspective, the firearms charges is what we arrested him for and booked him on. Anything further will come from the federal government, and quite frankly, I don't know if we will be a part of that. We will certainly be a part of that investigation and cooperating with them, but those charges, if any, will come from them. They will not come from us.
Yeah, very strange, John, this whole situation with this guy. He had fake VIP passes. He got into the event. It was prior to President Trump arriving. He did take pictures with Vivek Ramaswamy, Riley Gaines, and several other Republican names that were at this event. Just weird all around, and there really hasn't been any other news about this guy since this happened. He was released on $5,000 bail, which if you were to attempt an assassination on a former president, you get released on $5,000 bail. I just insane, but this was in California, John.
Well, I mean, we really don't know the details yet. What were his intentions? I mean, well, first, let me comment on just the press release. This sheriff might have been the most unclear sheriff at a press conference ever. I mean, he goes back and forth. He doesn't really explain anything. I guess that there's some reasons for not wanting to, but at the same time, it was just a master class in making an unclear statement. Yeah. But I think that he never answered any questions, and I think that's the biggest thing. He didn't answer any questions. The FBI hasn't answered any questions. The campaign hasn't answered any questions. Who the heck is this guy, right? Was it an assassination attempt? He was bringing. He's a Trump fan, but he was bringing weapons to the thing. He's a sovereign citizen. What does that mean? How have they vetted him? But they just think the guy had multiple passports, right? Multiple passports, and then you let him out on $5,000 bond.
Fake driver's license, fake tag.
Yeah, he already shows that he doesn't. You don't even know who he really is. Did they really identify him completely? He seemed like to be unsure about his name. And he had multiple passports. Does that mean that he's got another one and he can flee? So I don't understand. None of this makes any sense. But just the idea that people are trying to bring a gun to a rally with a presidential candidate, to me, is mind-boggling. And obviously, I mean, security got him, but he was with Vivek. I mean, he was with Vivek Ramaswamy. Give me a break. I mean, if he had been late, I mean, would he have been there with Trump in the room? I mean, Did he have a weapon on him? I don't think that was also not clear. Apparently, he had weapons in the car. I don't know if he had any on him. I mean, it's just a strange situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, no clarification, nothing from this sheriff. I mean, it's just kind of like, we know that he got into the event. We know that from the pictures that he posted, with Vivek, with Riley Gaines. But we don't know anything else from this event. I have to think that maybe they didn't think it was such a serious thing if they let him go on $5,000 bail. But who knows? And yes, John, if you are that crazy to bring a gun to a Trump rally at this point, after there's already been 2 attempts on the president's life, you deserve to go to jail.
Well, I mean, he went to jail, right? We just don't know. He was just let out almost immediately.
You deserve to stay in there.
Yeah, I mean, but certainly you deserve more than a $5,000 bail.
Yeah.
And when you're carrying multiple passports, which makes you a fleeing concern.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's like they wanted to cut him loose. I mean, this is just, the guns were not registered also, right? Or something like that. So this is just an incredibly confusing situation.
His license plate was fake. His VIP passes were fake.
Yeah.
Just a very strange
Here's the
situation.
thing. If this is, look, they held on to people and they chased people harder who were part of January 6th.
Yeah.
So how do you chase somebody who's part of January 6th, somebody who just happened to be there? How do you chase them harder than a guy who tried to bring in 2 weapons to a presidential candidate rally? It doesn't make any sense. Who has multiple passports and a fake license plate? Yeah. I mean, does he have to be wearing a tuxedo and drinking like shaken martinis in order for you to catch that there might be something deeper going on? Was it just some crazy guy? Was he committed? Did they? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, man. But clearly, protecting Trump is not their concern.
No. But,
I guess that's the one thing that's very clear, and that's the one thing that we can draw. It's the one conclusion that we can draw is that they have no interest in protecting the life of Donald Trump.
No. And they've proven that on multiple occasions at this point. So,
yeah, clearly.
Well, out on the campaign trail, John, you said it earlier, it's looking pretty rough for Kamala Harris. So they've called in the big guns, President Obama out there campaigning for Kamala Harris and out there scolding black voters, saying that they're not as enthusiastic about Harris as they were for him during his first run. And he's trying to encourage them to join the movement and vote for Kamala Harris. But we'll talk about what the effect that's had. But it's pretty much had the opposite effect. Here he is.
Is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers.
Oh, the brothers.
So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences.
He's a terrible liar.
He's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
Whatever. All right. First of all,
there
he goes, John.
So frustrating.
There he goes. Saying once again that they can relate to her. All right. There's nothing to relate to there. She grew up in a middle class family. Remember, she's the one saying that everywhere. And she is not African American. They keep saying that she's an African American. She's not African American. She is Indian and Jamaican. So I don't know. I don't know, John.
I'll tell you, the outrageous part is that he's he's literally saying she's black. You got to vote for her because she's black, right? That's the interpretation there. He was telling, oh, somebody who, you know, they're like us. She went to school with you. She went to this. I mean, would he be saying that if it was a white guy who was raised in some ghetto, you know, surrounded by black people his whole life or her life? No, he wouldn't be saying the same thing. And you know, I mean, it's crazy that he's making this about race. They're the racists. If you're going to vote for her just because she's black, they're the racist. There's the perpetuation of racism right there. He just defined it. Vote for her because she's black. Vote for her because she went to a black college. I mean, that's come on. I mean, how is he not getting it? Well, he is getting slammed for it, but at the same time, I mean, that should lose you the election. I mean, and you're saying that black people are that's all they care about? Right? They don't care about their families. They don't care about their kids having their genitals cut off. They don't care about racism of other people. They don't care about the health of the economy. They don't care about holding on to their cultures and their traditions. I mean, the only thing they care about is the color of their skin. That's what Obama is saying. Yeah. And I think that people are like, no wonder they have no respect for black people. Right? No wonder the Democratic Party has no respect whatsoever for black people because they think that's the ticket. Yeah. Oh, you're black. You got to vote for a Democrat because you're black. You're black. That's it. You're one-dimensional. You're black. You're not smart. You're not dumb. It doesn't matter whether you like spaghetti or lasagna. You're black. So you're going to do what we tell you, which is to vote Democrat. And that's just so racist. It's probably the most racist thing I've ever seen a politician at that level say that was just slightly under the radar, you know, but essentially that's blatant racism. We would never imagine a white guy saying, you got to vote for Trump because Kamala's black, right? What, I mean, would that be acceptable? Kamala's black. You can't vote for her. She's black. I mean, there would be a ton of outrage. So why is there no outrage at a black guy saying you got to vote for her because she's black and the other guy's white? Yeah. Right. I mean, that's essentially what this comes down to. It's just the typical liberal hypocrisy. I've lived with it. Right. I mean, I've lived with it. I've gotten it from all sides. We had a school board member that sat to my right say, oh, you're so articulate for a Hispanic guy. And I was like, what? Wow. What? What are you talking about? I know how to write. He was like, oh, you write so well. I was like, what? What? I know how to write? I mean, that's like your ball. I know how to write? Are you kidding me? I mean, you don't. The worst part is that he didn't, you know? So, I mean, I get it. I get it. And I don't see where's the outrage at this racist saying racist things is the bottom line.
Yeah, and you know, John, this is something that they do. They've done this the whole while. They love to divide us into categories by race, by gender, by everything. But
that's the only way they have a ticket that wins, right? Like in other countries, like here in the United States, we essentially have a two-party system, right? You have R's and D's. In other countries of the world, though, you have multiple parties, and they have to build coalitions in order to win, right? So like the right party has to go with the center right party and the right party, and they have to build a team, and then you have to go with the centrist, and you have to build a team in order to win government and have majority. Yeah. Well, that's the only way the Democrats have any chance at all is by combining all of these unlikely partners. You have the LGBTQ community, you have the demographic groups, right, that are based on ethnicity or race, right? The blacks, the Hispanics, the everybody else, right? And you try to like keep them all together, and it's just that's such a shallow way to build a team, right? Because all those people have different interests. Asians don't give a crap about the issues that might affect somebody else. They care about education probably more than anything, right? They care about the future prospects of their kids more than anything. That's probably their number one priority, even more than economics. So it's a very strange thing. We literally have someone, a national figure, a former president, being as racist as Woodrow Wilson was, right? Woodrow Wilson was famed for being a tremendous racist. And you have a president today in 2024 saying racist things, but there's no consequence to it because it's not against whites. And that's absurd to me.
Well, that's Obama, and he's the one who created the great racial divide in America. I mean, think about it. It goes right back to him. Back in the 90s, we saw racism ending, basically. I think we talked about this before, John.
Yeah.
We saw
felt
the
like
end
that.
of racism in the 90s, and it felt to us like we were all very united at that point. And then, here comes Obama, and it's worse than ever. But he's not only scolding black men, John. He also was out there scolding President Biden today. He was seen scolding Biden at the Ethel Kennedy Memorial Service. Biden is seen looking confused or worried as Obama looks him directly in the eye while speaking. Look at this, John. Lucky for us, John, though, that we have these excellent experts out on social media that were able to zero in on what they were saying at this event. Here it is.
Michelle is really a man.
Nope, he's not. He's a woman. Actually, so I guess you could say he wasn't born that way. I should stop saying he and say she.
Oh, yeah, right. Wait. But does she have a dick?
Oops.
That's terrible.
Oops.
That's terrible, Tom. Here's the funny thing is, what was he saying? Was he scolding him? It definitely looked like a tense conversation. It looked like there were there's a level of disrespect that Obama has for Biden that you can tell, right? You see him turning away from him, giving him his back. He's the president of the United States, and he clearly looks like he's at the bottom of the pecking order between those two, right? I mean, that's not my imagination. That's just like there's observable tension, and Obama is giving him his back shoulder. He's, look at him, it's bad. It looks terrible. And to me, when I see that Obama's the guy who's running the country. That's what
Absolutely.
I see. Obama's the guy who's running the country. Because that's what it looks. That's what the body language says. I dare any body language person to come and dispute the fact that it's telling you that one is the superior, one is the inferior. I wouldn't say that either one of those two guys are alpha males, right? But clearly one is maybe higher on the chart. One might be around kilo or something. And the other one might be a Sierra, like that down on the list. So I don't know. It's just I would love to have known what was said in that conversation. They could have been talking about Kamala Harris too. In all seriousness, it looks like he's saying that things are bad, right? And Obama's and Biden's looking like worried. So yeah, he's looking worried. Oh, we're gonna lose this, right? And if we lose this, Hunter's gonna jail for a long time. Who knows what he was saying?
Yeah, honestly, who really does know what's going on there? But Obama making a lot of mistakes, and even liberal pundits like Bill Maher is out.
They're
there
all making mistakes.
about it.
Democrats across the entire sphere of politics are making mistakes, right? I mean, we have a lot of them highlighted tonight, but we're watching as we watch the news. You see all of these top tier people saying this is a disaster. This is a disaster of epic proportions. Why is this so bad? Well, you got the worst. You hired the biggest clowns. The only requirement was that you wear a dress to work, no matter what your gender was, right? and that you wear lipstick. And that was it. That was the only requirement to join this team. Now they have a team full of imbeciles. And, you don't have the smartest people. So you have the guy, the Raging Cajun down there in Louisiana saying that this is a disaster. He's worried. You have people that we're going to talk about tonight in the show, Bill Maher, right? You have Obama, you have Clinton. They're all worried. They're all desperately worried.
Yeah. And like we were saying, John, Bill Maher, He's addressing this dreadful state of the Kamala campaign. Admits it's not looking great for Democrats. Here he is.
And you're just excited, tense. It could be anything. Oh, fuck, it's 25 days before the election. And I got to say, it's not looking that great for the Democrats. I mean, this is not a good sign, you know, when you have an African-American candidate. You probably shouldn't be having to shore up your support among black men, but that's what's going on. Tim Walz is headlining a voter engagement event tonight with black men. Who better to connect with young black men than Tim Walz? Because apparently Michael Bublé was unavailable.
That's a pretty clever remark.
Meanwhile, Kim Kardashian's like, hello. No, Obama even came out yesterday to scold. I mean, he was scolding. Well, I don't know. Last month at the convention, he was no scolding. Now he's scolding. He was saying, you got to vote for Harris. But of course, for some young, especially the younger black men, it's a tough choice. Harris is African American, but Trump has a sneaker line. So, you know.
Well, there they go again. You know, pretty funny from Bill Maher, but once again, they're saying she's an African American. She's not an African American. That bothers me to the core, John. I'm sorry.
That is a lot of social commentary that he made right there. I mean, between the sneaker line and whatever. And I don't think that he's being racist, but what he's doing is just pointing out how they're treating blacks in the electorate, right? As an electorate, they're treating them like they have no respect. Like, oh, well, it's easy because all we got to do is throw sneakers at you, or Kim Kardashian or whatever. And, you know, and whatever. He's making the point. He's not being a sellout, right? He's being a comedian. So he's trying to be funny, but the statement is very profound that they are mistreating black people, the Democrat Party, and it's costing them their vote. So we've been talking about it on the show for months and months and months. There's an awakening going on across all demographics. We talked a lot about how Hispanics are leaving the Democrat Party. He's working. I mean, Trump is obliterating the records for Hispanics, converting Hispanics to Republican and converting blacks to Republican. Right now, last I saw, it was at 15%. 15% is a gigantic number, okay, for somebody. In fact, it hasn't been that high since Nixon. And prior to Nixon, right, when Nixon had that high of a number, it was during like the big change of black people voting for Democrats. So this is big. Trump is reversing. It's like getting the Niagara Falls to go upwards. You know, I mean, what he's doing. And this is not just the fact that Trump is really, really good at this. This is a master's class on how to reach and engage with people and make them relate with you, right? Trump is a sales guy. Art of the deal. That is Trump. And that's what sales is. Sales 100% is all about being able to relate with the other person, understand, and most importantly, make sure that they understand that you understand what they want you to understand. And Trump has done that. That is mission accomplished for the Trump team. Harris is still like, no, I'm black. You got to vote for me because I'm black, right? I'm not going to worry about voting for me. Oh, well, you know, oh, we're all good. I come from a middle-class family, because she thinks the majority of Americans are middle-class people. Oh, I come from a middle-class family. Somebody said on her team, oh, you got to relate to middle-class families in the United States. So she just started saying middle class, right? That's not enough. You know, we know for a fact, it's like she's got like $16,000 necklace on. You're not going to relate to the middle class like that because you're going to pretend that you're part of the middle class. No, Trump doesn't have to pretend that he's poor or that he's middle class or that he's rich to relate. He just does it by being genuine and authentic. And that's the one thing that Kamala Harris has zero of, that Biden, as bad and as idiotic as he has been as a president, the fact is, at least Biden can relate with people, right? He's just an old white guy. And that old white guy sensibility of being nice or whatever, although clearly we've seen that he hasn't been so nice. But, you know, this whole relatable thing that he's got, it's better than Kamala.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does she bring to the table at this point? I don't know how they thought they were going to get her across the finish line besides cheating or stealing an election, because how can you? She was polling worse than Biden was.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, John, even back to when she was running for president back in 16. You know,
she was in last.
She was in last place. She wasn't even the number one contender. And she wasn't now either. And that's why you have somebody like Tim Walz. But we'll get to him later. But, you know,
yeah,
she's not a front runner.
It's conventional wisdom that you have to have somebody worse than you to be your vice president, right? Yeah. And man, that makes you got to scrape the bottom of the barrel. You got to lift the barrel up and get the muck underneath the barrel, you know. And that's Tim Walz.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm wondering, John, because we saw that President Obama was scolding President Biden at this Ethel Kennedy Memorial, but I'm wondering, because President Clinton was there too, I'm wondering if President Clinton got scolded over this, John. He basically said when he was out campaigning for Kamala Harris that Laken Riley would still be alive if the Biden-Harris administration had done their job. Here he is.
In Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up, so we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work, there wouldn't be a problem.
I don't 100% agree with that, John. But Team Trump wasted no time, John. They wasted no time.
Not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
That's bad. It's bad when the other all they got to do is quote you. They put their name on it. I mean, he did that with Kamala Harris already, right?
Yes.
All he does is take videos of them speaking, and he puts his name at the end. I mean, that's how bad things are going for the Democrats. This is as somebody who's been watching politics. My first election that I remember was Ronald Reagan in '80, and I mean, it was like I watched that. I watched the debates. I was a young child, and I've never seen anything worse than what we're witnessing now. It's so bad, it's historic. And they used to say that all the time, right? That this is a historic administration, Yeah. And we said right after they said that, they started saying that it's historically bad. It's historically bad. And it absolutely is historically bad. Yeah. I'm not even sure how it can get worse.
Well.
Oh, wait. Yes, I do know how it can get worse. We'll talk about it in the show.
Yeah. Well, here's Kamala Harris out on the campaign trail. She is at a Latino event trying to shore up the Latino vote. And she tells people that her motivation is to allow illegal immigrants to become citizens who will then be able to vote. Here she is.
So my pledge to you is that by the grace of God, and hopefully with your support as well, when I am elected president, I will bring back that border security bill, and I will sign it into law and do the work of focusing on what we must do to have an orderly and humane pathway to earn citizenship. And one of the biggest problems with failure to have a comprehensive plan for immigration is that we have not given them the pathway to earn their right to citizenship. And that is one of the priorities for me, frankly, in terms of my motivation for what I know we must do. And I think it should compel us to agree they should not have to live in fear, but should have an ability to be on a pathway to earn their citizenship. So it is one of my priorities.
She said the same thing twice.
Wow.
She said the same thing twice,
Wow.
John.
She's talking about giving illegal alien citizenship, right? But of course she's pandering. And she says, oh, this is my number one priority. When she's in a black neighborhood, oh, reparations is my number one priority. If she's in a French neighborhood, oh, French bread is my number one priority. It doesn't matter where she's at, whatever is there, whatever she can grasp onto, she panders to it like crazy. Hispanics, they polled it. Hispanics hate illegal immigration. They don't want it. They don't want illegal immigration. So what are you going to do? Now you're promising that they got a pathway to citizenship. Okay, well, Hispanics also don't like massive deportations, breaking up families and stuff like that. So you're going to go there. You're going to say, oh, a pathway to citizenship. Everybody else in the world hates that. Nobody else wants that. Nobody wants somebody to skip in the line. And there's tons. If you want to bring in more immigrants, then you need to fix the immigration system so that it's taking in the proper amount of immigrants that feed your need, that service the need of the United States, not one that surrenders the United States to the criminals of Venezuela. And the fact that she's not addressing that she was in charge of the border, I mean, what would make her go up in the polls is if in that environment she said, listen, we have problems at the border. We're trying to fix them. And it's been very difficult. It's a problem that we need to solve with compassion and with love for our fellow man, that we're working on it. And if you give us another chance, another 4 years, by the end of my 4 years, I would have resolved this immigration problem. People would be like, okay, right? That's worth consideration. But instead, she's just like, oh no, this is why I'm running. I'm running because I'm going to solve this problem that I created, and and I'm the greatest. And nobody believes it. No. It's just there's no credibility to what she's saying because she can't acknowledge that she's the one that effed it up to begin with.
Yeah. And you put her in those situations, John, and she just mumbles and goes off the cuff. It's very
it's terrible.
She does it because she says the same thing over and over again. She's done it multiple
Yeah, I'm a middle class
times.
family. What are you going to do about illegal immigration? Oh, well, listen, I'm a middle class. I was born into a middle class family, and my neighbor, who I call her mom number 2, she had a small business company. I love small businesses. I mean, God, we've all heard it, and it's all BS. It's a made up line. It's a made up line. Her father was a rich professor. Her mom was a business person too, from what I understand. They were not lacking in money. That if they were upper middle class, they're not coming from Compton.
No, not at all, not at all.
They were at Stanford.
Before we move on to some more stories here, John, we have this important message from President Trump.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that.
Kamala supports transgender sex changes in jail with our money.
Kamala even supports letting biological men compete against our girls in their sports. Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, John. So we did allude to Tim Walz, and here he is, John. Governor Tim Walz saying he thinks the Electoral College should be abolished, but then says his position is that the Electoral College should not be abolished. Here he is.
Something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Yeah. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. Mm-hmm. And I think some of folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign and my position is the campaign's position.
He talks in circles too, John, it seems. Hold on, John. Hold on.
Sorry, he's a liar. He's a straight up liar. He's been a liar his whole career. I don't understand why they picked him, except for the fact that he brings that to the table. he is super dishonest, incredibly dishonest. And I don't know how you, as a Democrat, can want somebody who's so blatantly dishonest, except for the fact that he follows in the model that was created by Joe Biden, right? And so does Kamala Harris. She plagiarized her parts of her book, right? So that's coming out. So she's a plagiarizer. This guy's a straight up liar. He's lying here. He said that he wants to get rid of it. And you can depend. The reason why they're backtracking on this issue is because they know to take away the electoral college, you're going to energize Republicans. And now the Democrat consultants are like, what are you doing, Tim? Be quiet. Be quiet. Don't talk about things that are going to energize Republicans. Keep your mouth shut. Stay on point. You're a middle-class citizen. Remember? You're a middle-class citizen who loves small business. That's who you are. That's not the case either. He's a facade. He's not even honest about who he is, which we're going to talk about. The guy is a straight-up dishonest used car salesman. He's the worst. He's a former teacher. He's the worst kind of teacher. This is the guy that you would be horrified to be teaching your kid.
Yeah, absolutely, John. And there are rumors that he was not the first choice. That they went to Shapiro, that they went to Pritzker, that they went to Newsom, and all three of them turned it down. And that's why we got Tim Walz with Kamala Harris. Over the weekend, he was trying to shore up the mail vote, John. I'm sure a lot of people saw this. He had a little bit of
Hold on. Wait. We have to give you a warning about this video if we're going next year. If you're eating, turn it off now. Change. We don't mind if you leave the show. Stop watching the show if you're eating, because this will make you vomit. I guarantee you, it will make you queasy if you're eating, because this is the cringiest thing that I maybe have ever seen in my life.
Well, not that one.
God.
One. No, we're not doing that one yet. We're just going to show he went to shore up the mail vote, and he was trying to go pheasant hunting, and he couldn't load a gun.
Okay, so this was a close second to that.
Yeah, he couldn't load
is
his
him
gun.
trying to load a shotgun. Let's see it.
Never feels quite right. It's not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap, because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulders.
Oh my God! So he was shooting a lot of discs out of the air, but he doesn't know how to load it. I'm telling you, the guy's a liar. He's a liar. He's just a huge dishonest dirtbag. I hate it. You can see that he's lying to you. I've been around guns for a long time, right? And then I was in the military. I was slept with a gun, essentially. And now I have a lot of guns anyways. Listen, when I was 10 years old, before I had been exposed to a lot of guns, I could easily figure out how to load and unload a gun, okay? This guy is doing a shotgun that he's had for many years where he was shooting a lot of skeet with, but he doesn't know how to load it. Blatantly false. Blatantly false. The guy is trying to create an image that is not real. He's as much of a liar as Biden is a plagiarist. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and,
this video is ridiculous.
Trying to prove
it's
that
the most
he's a real
unmanly
man.
thing ever.
But some really surprising, I guess not so surprising, accusations against Tim Walz came out over the weekend.
Yeah, Tim Walz is not a guy that's going to bring out the mail vote. No, that's not going to do it. No, he's a white guy for Harris.
Yeah,
you know, I mean and so is this.
Yeah, so these accusations are they're facing formal accusations of premeditated sexual assault after taking a 14-year-old boy to a local concert. The former student is accusing Walz of grooming and molesting him, and has decided to come forward publicly. And this is sad to talk about. Hillary Clinton said there was going to be an October surprise for Harris campaign. Here is the boy. Well, he's a man now, but here is his accusations. He says, and he's talking about Tim Walz, he was giving me oral sex. I remember it only took seconds. I don't want to get into the disgusting parts of this, but I thought Gwen would walk in, and he told me not to worry about that. He told me Gwen would not disturb us. He kept reassuring me that everything was okay and that this was normal. and that I was really gay. All right. Supposedly he took this boy to an Indigo Girls concert. And that if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about Tim Walz right there, Indigo Girls, really?
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see if more comes out about this. I don't think.
Well, here's the thing. This
it.
was there was a hearing by a school board meeting. The school board voted 6-0 to have him fired, from what I understand. We're looking into those reports. All that stuff is going to come out in the public because you can't hide it. It's all available by public record request. So, I mean, this guy, how did they vet him? Yeah. They didn't know that he had been fired by a school board 6-0. I mean, what was going on here? They hired a guy. I mean, they're not vetting at all. And they're just not offended by it. They're not offended by an adult male having sex with a student male, with a male student. No. Right? It's just, that's not offensive to Democrats who are supporting this agenda. And so, they don't care. So maybe they did know. They just figured, oh, well, whatever. Maybe now we can finally get that attracted younger person What's the name? What's that name? What's the nickname that pedophiles like to use? Minor attracted person, something like that. Minor attracted person, right? And finally, we can get to maybe with a pedophile as the vice president, we can get this minor attracted person thing to stick. I don't understand. Even the accusation. They want to throw Trump in jail for some false accusations, but they're going to let this guy get away with this. I mean, I don't know. I look forward to seeing the records from the school board.
Yeah.
From his personnel records as a teacher.
And it's funny that Hillary Clinton knew about this and said that this October surprise was coming for Kamala Harris, and here it is.
I mean, do you think that's what she was talking about? Why would she be?
So.
Why would she be happy about that, though?
I don't think she wants to see Kamala Harris be the first female president of the United States. I think Hillary Clinton believes that was hers. That was to be her. And I believe in her mind, she thinks she was robbed of it. So to see anybody else take that before her, she's not happy about it. And Biden's not happy with her either. You can tell by the things he's done, wearing the Trump hat.
Biden does not want her to win. I would speculate.
He feels he's pushed out, So we'll see what comes out more from this. But anyway, John, you alluded to this. You thought we were pulling it up a little while ago. The cringiest video you've ever seen. Give that warning one more time, John, to the audience.
This is the worst. Be careful. Don't be eating while you watch this.
Yeah.
Man. I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough. I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Meat. Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women. I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of
full-throated.
Man
what are they talking about?
Even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
That is the worst political commercial I've ever seen in my life. That is the worst political commercial I've ever seen in my life. That is the worst. I mean, that is hard. First of all, you pick a whole bunch of guys that all other guys probably don't like. Like, that's like the instant, right? Like, these guys all look like victims, male victims, right? You have just the worst.
Beta males.
There's not one of them. Yeah, they're all beta males. And none of them looks credible, right? The guy lifting weights, the black guy lifting the weight says, I can deadlift 500 pounds. I don't even think that he can lift 500 pounds. The guy who says, I eat carburetors for breakfast, it's more likely that he eats a carburetor for breakfast than he fixes a carburetor by breakfast time. The guy who rides horses is wearing not a cowboy hat, but a baseball hat, right? I mean, it's just none of those guys were credible in the real world or to resolve. All of those guys, they're already voting for Harris.
Yeah.
Right? All of these guys are voting for Harris already. That gained exactly 0 males. The whole narrative, oh, we're not afraid of women or whatever. Men aren't afraid of women. And I guarantee you, if you put a woman up there that doesn't seem like she's going to lie to you, steal your family and your future, a man was going to vote for her, an alpha male. I mean, they're talking about a problem that doesn't exist. They think this is a sexist issue. It's only a sexist issue in their mind. Yeah. This is an economics issue, right? This is a future issue. This is a patriotic issue. These are issues about our kids and our families. They say, the guy says, oh, I'm not afraid of, women who don't want to raise kids and don't have a family. We love women who choose not to have families. Men don't give a crap about that lady. Men care about their wives and their daughters. Men care about their families. So how does that ad help anybody? It does not help the Democrats for sure. That ad is going to give 5 points to Donald Trump. I don't understand. I'll never understand I'm beginning to think that this is a setup. I feel like I'm being played. Kamala Harris is so bad. Joe Biden is so bad. I'm starting to feel that maybe Trump is the Antichrist and we're all being fooled because this election is so easy. It's so easy. They're making it so easy. I don't understand how they can be making these mistakes by accident. It's
John, this is not an official campaign video. This was produced by a guy named Jacob Reed. He is a wannabe Hollywood producer. Every single guy in that video, those men for Harris, are paid actors. The black guy that was lifting weights is a bisexual migrant from Nigeria. The one guy with the hat on is a gay acting coach. And almost every one of the other ones are failed actors as well. So what a poor attempt to try and help them.
And you can tell. You can tell. Not to say that you can't have a gay guy saying that, this is what a man's going to do or whatever, but you can tell. So like there's no authenticity. You're gonna get a whole bunch of gay guys to do a commercial for straight guys to go vote for the guy that you're telling them to vote for. That's not gonna work.
It's crazy.
That's not gonna work. It's like if I'm the world's biggest Ford fan, and now this guy wants to come sell me a Chevy. He's gonna have a tough time. All right, it's the wrong approach. And the guy who did this, they should have paid that guy $1 million not to release this ad.
He went on CNN and he talked about the ad, and obviously the man himself is gay too. He sounds very effeminate. So,
I think that Harris should give him $1 million to pretend like he never did it.
Make it disappear from the web.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Merrick Garland's garbage Department of Justice is throwing out warnings on Twitter, threats that if you spread false information about the election, they will prosecute you. And this is what they're putting out there, John. They put this out on X, on Twitter. The Justice Department is vigilant in prosecuting those who try to mislead voters. Ensure your information is accurate and report any misleading or fraudulent claims to local authorities or the FBI. Now, why would they put this out on X? Could it be because they say that X is the leading source of disinformation in the world, and that's the way the mainstream media classifies it?
I'm not so offended by the ad or by the approach that they're taking, saying if you mislead voters, you're going to be prosecuted. For me, it's more of a problem the fact that they're not chasing down now things that are absolutely known to harm our election process. Why are they chasing something that has not happened as opposed to going after the things that have happened regarding our elections? For example, we already talked about it in the last show, a couple of shows prior. We talked about how they were cleaning the rolls in states like Arizona and what were the other states? Michigan and all these places, hundreds of thousands of votes. What was it? Oklahoma had 400,000 votes, right? That they had to clean off of the rolls. Why aren't they doing something about that? Instead, they're doing something about that doesn't exist.
Well, that's
excuse me, I just don't understand it.
That's Merrick Garland's DOJ right there.
Yeah, he's worried about people, basically ads in the past that have said, hey, make sure you go vote on November 7th, even though election day is November 5th, right? And so that's what he's talking about. And they've prosecuted people for that in the past election, right? Who have done that in the past election. But here's the thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they could be doing. They could be chasing down Chinese spies. They're easy to find. They're all in Eric Swalwell's apartment. But you could be chasing down illegal dead voters, right, to clean up their rolls. They can do that, right? They already know who's dead. Everybody has a death certificate. They could be doing all kinds of things to prevent election interference. Instead, they're worried about a problem that hasn't happened yet. So, I'm not offended.
We have to question what they will consider to be election interference and what they will consider to be
misinformation
something that they will prosecute. So that misinformation. A lot of stuff happening in Aurora, Colorado, John, attached to these migrant Venezuelan gangs that have been brought into the area. Over the weekend, J.D. Vance really let Martha Raddatz have it when she minimized the illegal immigrant gang takeovers because only a handful of apartments have been seized. Here it is.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
He does it so well, John. He really does. He does it so well. I can't believe that I second-guessed this choice.
Now you know why, right? Yeah, now you know why he picked him.
Absolutely.
And I'm in the same boat, right? I really didn't like the things that he said in 2016, but in 2017, all through that election, I didn't like, a lot of the things that he said in the past. But at the same time, man, the guy is polished. He seems like a very nice guy, and he's very, very good at relaying a message. And this is, he challenges them in a way that's not offensive. And that to me is very valuable right now. The funny thing about this is that he picked up on it too. When I was watching this the first time, that video, and she says a handful of times, I screamed out, a handful of times, right? Like I exclaimed, like she said it. The moment she said it, she's like, it's only a handful of times. I screamed it out loud as I was watching a handful of times, and that's exactly what J.D. Vance says to her. Are you listening to yourself? Yeah. A handful of times, a Venezuelan gang released from prisons in Venezuela, coming here illegally, has taken over apartment complexes in the United States of America. It's only happened a handful of times, and the mayor or whoever it was that was saying that, oh well, our police dealt with it. It said they acted on it or something like that. It didn't say they caught all those bastards. They put them in jail. They're on a plane right now back to Venezuela, and we don't care if that plane even lands. Right? That's what you think that they would be saying. That's what a leader would be saying who cares about his population, who cares about his community. Instead, he's like, oh, well, they acted on it. So what does that mean? You researched it? Did you arrest anybody? What happened? So, I mean, I was like outraged when I saw this story. And I'm outraged, just like JD Vance was, that Raditz would even consider minimizing something as serious as that. Maybe, remember, we've covered it in the past, right? Like somebody would be like, they didn't believe, what was the Democrat, the liberal's name in the last show that suffered a sexual assault, and after she suffered a sexual assault, she's like, okay, I've had enough of the crime in California.
Anna Kasparian.
Right? Yeah, so Kasparian said the same thing, right? So maybe if Raditz, something bad happens to Raditz, she's the type of person that it has to happen to her before she realizes that it's a serious issue, right? Yep. Like maybe if they take over, the Venezuelan gangs take over her apartment complex and bust down her door with weapons, then maybe she'll understand the severity of the problem.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to take for many of these liberals, John, is that they have to experience this stuff for them to actually take it seriously.
And they will. If Kamala Harris wins, they will at some point. It's a matter of time.
And that goes for the governor of Colorado, who came out and said that there is no problem here. But the residents themselves are saying that there is a problem. This Aurora native tells Right Side Broadcasting about these Venezuelan gangs. She says it's happening, it's real, it's here. Here she is.
Women that support Trump, especially women who have kids, families, and what's going on in Aurora. I'm a native of Colorado. It's happening, it's real, it's here. And our governor says it's not real, it's real. It's not in our imagination, it's happening.
What is it that you're saying that's real?
The gangs, all that kind of stuff, it's everywhere. It's in Aurora, it's throughout the suburbs. They're spreading.
Isn't that the scary part?
Insane. My son's a landscaper. I mean, he's had stuff stolen. They're stealing. The crime is outrageous. You call the police, they don't come. They don't come. It'll take 2 hours. Like, they don't come.
Well, Jared Polis, who is the governor of Colorado, I think he's going to have a tough time being reelected, John, after all this. I don't know, but the evidence is mounting up that this is real, this is really happening. He can deny it all he wants, but, we even have another story here, John, about this. This is the manager of an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. Venezuelan gangs who took over the building beat him up when he refused their bribe. The gangs told the owner they need to share the rent income 50-50 or lose the building. Now, there is a video out there of this guy, and here he is after he got beaten by this gang. There is a video of the beating. We're not going to put it on. We're not going to show people that. It's pretty graphic. It's pretty disturbing. But we do have a video from somebody's Ring doorbell camera or whatever showing how they go about going into these buildings and taking them over. Here it is. They go in there in a group, John, with machine guns and threaten the people. It's really sick what's happening. But this is the Biden-Harris America that you're looking at right here. This is it.
Yeah.
This is exactly
it. They're okay with this because they're assuming that those people will vote for Democrats, and after they put them on a path to citizenship. And here's the thing: if that had been my door, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't know, or they didn't know, or he didn't know that they were coming in like that. But I mean, this is why we have the Second Amendment, right? One of the reasons that we can protect ourselves, and that could have easily become a firefight. I think that some of those situations, of which there have been more than a handful of, as Raditz said, have turned into firefights. And it's just, that's a very scary. What if you have kids in there? What if you have kids there? Yeah. And they're the mob. They're basically a new mob, except the new mob is a gang from Venezuela. I mean, the police acted on it, as the mayor said. I mean, they should have had the SWAT team out there. You know, I mean, I don't understand it. We're ceding control of our country. We're going to become a third world country really quick if this is good. I mean, this is what it's like there. I mean, and then they want to take away your guns, right? They want to take away your guns so that only the criminals have the guns. So, I mean, it's a terrifying prospect.
Absolutely. You know, you have no way to defend yourself against this stuff that they've brought here. You know, the bad guys that they've brought here.
Yeah.
This is the Biden-Harris America, John. Have you been
And
to the
they're
mall?
going to take your gun away.
When was the last time you've been to the mall, John?
I haven't been to the mall in a long time.
Yeah, I try and stay away from the mall, too. And you definitely want to stay away from the mall here in Pleasant Hill, California, as it gets ransacked by looters in broad daylight.
Get away from the store, baby. This is another one.
Damn.
Wow. This is Biden-Harris America right here. This is what it's
And
come
that's not
to.
the worst. That's really not the worst. I mean, we were seeing a lot of these, and we're going to continue seeing them. And it's just it's a terrifying prospect that we can't have a mall, we can't have a shopping center, we can't be in peace. I mean, we used to send our kids, right? We used to send our kids to the mall. Us as kids, we used to go and walk around the mall, right? I mean, now you can't. You're afraid to let your kid. You can't let your kid outside to ride a bike because they'll get run over. You can't allow your kid to walk to school anymore because they'll get picked up by a pedophile. You can't allow your kid to go walk around the mall, even though they have security. You just can't trust that something like some crazy looting thing is going to happen there. I mean, this is essentially the worst that we've seen our country in since I've been alive in my lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely, John. I never imagined that we'd see things as bad as they are right now. But here it is. Here it is, if you vote for Kamala Harris, this is going to continue and get worse. The only choice you have this election cycle is to vote for President Trump, and don't feel comfortable because the Kamala Harris campaign is doing so poorly. Don't feel comfortable and say, it's
God,
okay.
don't do that. That's a mistake.
I can stay home. It's okay. I don't need to go out and vote. Oh, I don't have time to vote. You get out there and vote, and you bring 10 of your friends to go vote, because this is how important this election really is. They always say it's the most important election of our lifetime. Well, yeah, this time it truly is.
Well, they were right last time. They were right in 2020.
Yeah.
They were 100% right. Now we have 20 million illegal immigrants in our country, and a gigantic percentage of them are criminals from prisons and throughout all the United States, throughout the world. I mean, of course, this last election cycle was, in fact, the most important election of our lifetime. And the only one more important is this one, because I cannot imagine letting our country go any worse. How badly can we wound this country before it doesn't come back? I don't want to find out.
No, absolutely not, John. All right, time to throw on the wet blanket.
Is it finally time for this to end?
Yes. And here's the reason why.
All right. There's our wet blanket. Liberals and rhinos telling us it's time to end, John.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us on another episode of Unsanctioned America. We'll be here soon to do Unsanctioned Florida. We got a great show on Unsanctioned Florida for you. Thank you for joining us. Please like and share the show. God bless you. We'll see you next time.